Sony is in the headlines again, and it's not for a game announcement. Now, PlayStation security keys have been leaked online, and that is a big problem, people. These keys aren't just passwords, they're the building blocks of PlayStation's digital ecosystem. They're out in the wild. It could affect security integrity, game authentication, network safety. So, what does this mean for your PSN account, your console, the future of PlayStation security? Because when the keys to the kingdom gets leaked, everybody started asking, what now?
Are you moderate to check?
All right, people. So it has been confirmed hackers have allegedly leaked PS5 BootROM, the deepest layer
BootROM.
of
Yeah,
the
BootROM. You got it.
Okay. The deepest layer of the console's authentication and encryption that verifies its boot process. These keys embedded in the hardware and cannot be fixed with a software update. That is the most critical thing in all of this. This is not a simple patch. This is not a simple software update that can be done. Listen, unlike typical software exploits, BootROM keys live in the permanent, readable memory inside the PS5 processors. Sony cannot patch this with a firmware update because changing those keys will break everything existing in the console already. This is a big deal because it removes one of the foundational security barriers the console uses to verify what software is allowed to run. And what does this mean? It makes jailbreaks and custom firmware easier. It does not instantly unlock privacy for average users. Other security layers still need to be bypassed first. It takes time and technical effort before wide-scale hacks emerge. Regardless of the case, this is embarrassing. Not only was Sony in the news last week for PSN accounts being hacked once again, and that's not his first time, but now you back this with your keys being leaked online. This is just embarrassing and unpatchable for existing hardware, likely to force the future hardware revision. I mean, they're going to have to change this up going forward, especially in the PS6. And we've already stated last week how Sony is really lax when it comes security. And now this is just another blow to that statement that my cousin made last week. So, major security breach, it targets hardware level keys. It cannot be fixed with software updates. It doesn't mean instant piracy, but it accelerates the exportation potentials. Future PS5 revisions may need new keys to restore trust. And trust is the biggest thing, I think, is the issue because this is back-to-back weeks. This is very embarrassing on Sony. And the PC players are probably looking and just pointing their finger and laughing. All console owners right now, especially if you got a PS5. So this is very, very just embarrassing for Sony and the PlayStation, and especially after they just announced they passed 84 million consoles sold, units sold, but you just sold 84 potential jailbreaks and potential piracy basically boxes. Like that's all I read now in the headline. 84 million units sold, 84 million potential issues sold. Yeah, but if let me know what do you think about all this embarrassing news for Sony right now?
So this is a very, very bad way to start the year off. There was already the reports of PSN getting hacked again, which we
Yeah.
reported on. Sony's network infrastructure has always been, it's always been lacked because even Nintendo gets their hardware, networks, whatever, hacked, jailbroken, exploited, any of that. But to start the year off, we at the time of recording, it is July 3rd. We ain't even a week into the new year, and this is going on. This is a catastrophe. And
It's
the reason why I want to
embarrassing,
say
yeah.
that is in the midst of the cusp of a new generation coming on, we'll get to that later. In the cusp of the RAM, GPU price rises, all of that. Now you have a exploit on a phenomenal level. And I say phenomenal because, as you stated, this is embedded into the system as on a fundamental level. This cannot be patched. This cannot be circumvented with an update. There is nothing that they can do besides make a revision of the system. And this is the fat launch models like we have and the slim models. Because I did my own reporting, the keys, these BootROM keys, as they're calling it, it's not something that's easily changed. It's like a specific thing. It's branded into the hardware
Yeah, it's the
in the
foundation.
back end. Yeah, it's the foundation. It's not something they can just keep on changing because then they have to keep changing the infrastructure in the background. But this is what Nintendo Switch dealt with. But the only difference with them is when this happened to the Switch, it was early on, so they did make a revision. They weren't in the critical, crucial times that we are in now. This system is 5 fucking years old, and we're on the edge of a next gen, and now this is happening. And trust and believe me, this would explain why Sony has been pushing out updates to PS3s, PS4s, still trying to circumvent hacking and jailbreak, even though I don't know why when you've moved on from those platforms. But this is going to be huge because now it'll either have to force them to prioritize money, resources into something they can't afford to right now to make a whole new revision, or you're just going to have to say,
Yeah, you fucked.
viewers and listeners, there's a video game that's on the screen now. It's called Star Wars Racer's Revenge. In my research of this game, it is a port of a PS2 game that got a PS4 version physical made. This is the key. It has been reports online. This is the key to help circumvent Sony's hardware and for you to use jailbreak your system and get custom firmware, mods, etc. Whatever, they'll blow the door wide open. This is the key. This game. And in recent weeks, this game was on eBay for $12 to $20. It has skyrocketed to $230 to $500 for
God
anyone who
damn.
has a copy of this, because now they know, hey, you want to jailbreak and you want to have some fun and do it, you need this game. This game helps push that door wide open. This is very bad, at least in Sony's eyes. Now Sony can say, hey, well, we're already so far into this, they're gonna do it. Hey, go ahead. But to also reiterate, a key leak doesn't instantly mean that every PS5 is jailbroken today. Even the same reports emphasize that other layers still need to be bypassed and that this mostly just helps accelerate that process. It'll lead to faster exploit developments. More people can study early boot components, which can speed up discovery of future vulnerabilities, which Sony just got to sit there and look at the clock now, the ticking down to doomsday. Potential for more persistent hacks down the road because BootROM level issues tend to be hard to fix without new hardware revisions, as we've all spoken. Piracy, all of that will increase if reliable chain emerges, which often leads to tougher enforcement, online bans, console/account flags, anti-cheat will escalate. This is a common industry pattern when platforms get opened up. And Sony's realistic options, if they choose to, are usually new hardware revisions going forward or server-side detection/enforcement, which they will have to, like I said, pour more resources into something they did not foresee coming. Like, what we doing? First account vulnerability, and now a complete hardware falling apart. And I'm sure Xbox players are just hee-hawing to the bank because as much as the console war backlash and shit goes forward, they can actually say, yo, this don't happen on Xbox. This don't happen to Microsoft.
Yeah.
The
I think
only
there
Microsoft has
was
had one.
yeah,
They
yeah,
had
go
one
ahead.
significant hack that got caught, nipped in the bud early, and
Yo,
then I
and
think
they
then
didn't play no games. Like
yeah,
and they
they
was
didn't play
very
no game.
transparent. Like, hey, we
They
got
didn't play
this.
no
We
games. They
fixing
didn't wait
this.
around for it like Sony did.
Yeah.
And then there was one Christmas during the PS4, Xbox One year. Both platforms had a DDoS attack. I think it was something Lizard took the blame for it, but that happened. That happened to both of them. And then that was it. Microsoft don't really fuck around when it comes to network infrastructure. But then again, that's their
Their
bread and butter.
software.
Their software. But Sony, I mean,
I mean, how
come
many
on,
black eyes
man.
can you take? Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I would have thought from the fiasco of 2011 when the PSN hack came down, you all would have been like, hey, we're going to U.S. government this bitch. Majority of our resources goes into network infrastructure and security, as the U.S. does with its military budget. But I mean, hey, I'll say this before we move on. You have people from day one who will buy these consoles and will tinker and tinker and tinker to crack these bad boys wide open. And majority of them do not care about PlayStation and online and whatnot. They just want to play their games how they want to play them with no interference. Now, to some, at least in my opinion, someone should look at this like, hey man, you got to buy the console in order to crack it open. So go and spend that money. But
Uh,
yeah,
I
this
guess
is bad.
let me ask you a question or a few questions.
Mm-hmm.
This includes the PS5 Pro, right?
Yep.
Okay, so their most expensive console, that is 750,
Mm-hmm.
is at its foundation is spread wide open. Will this affect or can this affect everyday users who just want to play their game without hassle? Is this going to interrupt their day to day when they cut on their PS5?
No, this is more on a corporate level nuisance, not a consumer level.
Okay, so they
And this is
didn't they didn't
only
they didn't sell 84 million hot boxes, basically. I mean,
no.
you kinda if you don't partake in the foolery of jailbreaking and all that, you're not going to be affected.
No. And then even then, I'll be honest. This is the early stage. This is like putting the key into the keyhole. Before you even start turning it, jiggling it, whatever. This is just the first step. By the time modding scene cracks this really wide open, it gets the configuring stuff with the custom firmware, one like that. PS6 probably would have already came out, been out, and as far as for this to affect consumers on that type of level, we would already been in the next generation. This is why you can get on a PS3 or a 360 and hop into a Call of Duty lobby and there's ads coming across your screen. There's guys in jetpacks hopping around shooting you through buildings because it's way past that point now.
So
And it takes more resources to fully open everything up in a sense.
but this
No,
is
we're not.
serious
Not
though. This is serious. This just it just shows that Sony security is not where it needs to be, honestly. I'm not saying that eventually everything doesn't get some type of level of jailbreak, but at its core, Sony needs to do better with security. I mean, PSN accounts getting hacked is a huge issue. Then you backdoor it with this at the beginning of the year. It's like Sony just needs to do better with security. I don't know how much money they're pouring into that, but whatever it is, they need to take a lesson. And I know I'm gonna get flagged. They need to take a lesson from Xbox because, like I said, I don't hear about Xbox. Not saying maybe there is some things that pop up, but in general sense, Xbox is not in the headlines for having security issues like Sony is. And the fact that it's back to back weeks, they need to do better at the end of the day. And especially with how expensive these consoles are, you would think you will have some type of level of security. But hopefully this doesn't turn nasty and ugly to the consumers. Hopefully this is just something that is a fucking headache for Sony itself and not average Joe Mo that just want to play their games in peace. And hopefully, because my only concern with this is that they're gonna do like my cousin said with his original Xbox account. They might start flagging innocent people because they just can't tell if it's you that's jailbreaking the game or if the person you're playing with jailbreaking the game, for instance. And they ban yo ass with everybody else that was in the game session. That's what I fear from this. Sony being
oh,
lazy
that
and not telling who is really jailbreaking the game, and they ban everybody's account. Now, my cousin says Sony is very more, their customer service is a lot more better, but then again, that was like 13, 15 years ago. I don't know. I cannot
mhm.
detest to how their customer service is now. Especially, they're probably gonna have a funky ass attitude with all this jailbreaking just because they're embarrassed. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, that doesn't come the case. I really pray because at the end of the day, the general person shouldn't be put in a situation where they're having to call Sony saying, "Hey, I'm not jailbreaking," and then they're gonna have to have some type of way to confirm if that account was jailbreaking or just somebody in the lobby they were playing with was jailbreaking. That's my only fear. But you let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all this foolishness of keys getting leaked? Is this really going to be an issue, or if you're okay with your system potentially being able to jailbreak in this whole little Star Wars racer revenge game and all that? You let me know how you feel in the comments below. But at the end of the day, this is embarrassing.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, Are You Not Entertained?